Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to challenge a mindset that has quietly weakened many powerful destinies. We live in a generation that believes prayer can replace responsibility, that spirituality can excuse disobedience, and that asking God is enough while ignoring what God already instructed us to do. But hear me clearly. Prayer was never designed to compensate for a lack of discipline. Heaven responds to order, not chaos. And God partners with principle, not negligence. Prayer is powerful, but it does not override laws. You can pray for success, yet refuse preparation. You can pray for change, yet resist consistency. You can pray for growth, yet avoid the discipline that growth demands. And until we understand this truth, that prayer cannot fix what discipline refuses to handle, we will continue asking God to bless behaviors He never authorized. Today, we are not here to pray harder. We are here to live wiser, think deeper, and align our daily discipline with our divine purpose. Prayer does not replace personal responsibility, because responsibility is the first assignment God gives to any human being. Before prayer was ever introduced, responsibility already exists. Humanity was commanded to tend to God, to manage, and to rule. Prayer came later as a means of alignment, not an escape from duty. When people pray without taking responsibility, they're asking God to violate the very order He established. Prayer is not a substitute for action. It is a partnership with obedience. You cannot ask God to do what He has already empowered you to do. Many people pray for financial breakthrough, but refuse to manage money. They pray for academic success, but avoid study. They pray for strong relationships, but will not practice forgiveness, communication, or integrity. What they are really doing, spiritualizing laziness. Prayer was never meant to cancel discipline, planning, or effort. God does not reward intentions. He responds to execution. Responsibility is the proof that prayer is sincere. When responsibility is missing, prayer becomes noise rather than power. Personal responsibility means owning your choices, your habits, your time, and your growth. It means understanding that God will not protect you from the consequences of what you consistently ignore. Responsibility is the language of maturity. Immature people pray for change. Mature people change their behavior. Immature people ask God to fix outcomes. Mature people adjust inputs. Prayer does not override principles. If a person jumps off a building and prays on the way down, gravity will still respond to law, not emotion. In the same way, life responds to discipline, structure, and consistency. God works with people who take responsibility because responsibility demonstrates trust, worthiness. Authority is never given to those who avoid accountability. When Adam failed, God did not ask, "Why did you pray less?" He asked, "What have you done?" Responsibility was the issue, not spirituality. Blame shifting began the moment responsibility was rejected. From that moment on, humanity started expecting God to fix what they refused to manage. But heaven does not function on excuses, it functions on order. Prayer becomes powerful only when it aligns with responsible living. Prayer is not magic, it is communication. Communication without coup. Ration produces frustration. God will not override your will to accomplish His will. That is why many prayers remain unanswered, not because God is silent, but because the person praying is unwilling to act. Responsibility is the human response that activates divine involvement. When you move, heaven moves. When you plan, heaven provides. When you prepare, heaven releases opportunity. Personal responsibility also means recognizing that discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect. Responsible people do not wait for motivation, they build systems. They do not wait for feelings, they honor commitments. They do not ask God to bless confusion, they create order. Responsibility is the daily proof that you value your future more than your comfort. Prayer may inspire you, but responsibility sustains you. God never asked anyone to pray for what they were refusing to practice. He asked them to walk, to work, to build, to forgive, to obey. Prayer aligns the heart, but responsibility aligns the life. One without the other creates imbalance. Responsibility without prayer leads to pride. Prayer without responsibility leads to deception. When responsibility is embraced, prayer becomes precise, focused, and effective. When responsibility is rejected, prayer becomes repetitive, emotional, and unproductive. Discipline is a spiritual principle, not a secular idea, because it originates from order, and order is the signature of God. Everything God creates operates by structure, timing, and boundaries. The universe itself functions under discipline. Seasons change on schedule, laws govern. End movement and systems remain consistent. Disorder is never described as divine. It is always a result of rebellion against principle. When people reject discipline, they are not rejecting rules, they are rejecting alignment with how life is designed to function. Many people assume discipline belongs to military systems, academic environments, or corporate culture, but discipline existed before any human institution. Discipline was present in creation itself. Light separated from darkness, land from water, day from night. That separation was discipline. Discipline simply means controlled behavior governed by purpose. Anything without discipline eventually loses its identity. Spiritual growth without discipline becomes emotionalism. Faith without discipline becomes fantasy. Vision without discipline becomes frustration. Spirituality is not proven by how loud someone prays or how often they attend religious gatherings. Spirituality is proven by consistency, obedience, restraint, and self-governance. Discipline is the ability to say no to what feels good now in order to say yes to what matters later. That ability is deeply spiritual because it reflects mastery over the self, the GRE. Greatest enemy of purpose is not the devil, it is lack of discipline. No external force can destroy a person who governs themselves. Discipline trains the soul to submit to truth rather than impulse. Without discipline, emotions become leaders and emotions are unstable. A disciplined life does not depend on moods, motivation, or convenience. It depends on commitment. Spiritual maturity is measured by how well a person can govern their habits when no one is watching. Discipline is private before it is public. It is developed in silence long before it produces visible results. God trusts disciplined people because discipline demonstrates stewardship. Anything unmanaged will be misused. Anything misused will eventually be removed. Discipline protects purpose from waste. That is why talents are never enough. Gifts open doors, but discipline keeps them open. Many people are gifted but unreliable. They pray for promotion but resist structure. They desire influence but reject accountability. Influence without discipline becomes dangerous. Discipline is not legalism. Legalism focuses on rules without relationship. Discipline flows from purpose. When purpose is clear, discipline becomes natural. An athlete does not call training punishment. They call it preparation. In the same way, spiritual discipline is not restriction, it is readiness. It positions a person to handle increase without collapse. Lack of discipline is the reason many blessings become burdens. Discipline also creates spiritual authority. Authority is not given to those who are emotional, inconsistent, or impulsive. Authority is given to those who demonstrate control. Self-control is listed as a spiritual fruit because it reflects inner order. A person who cannot control their time, words, appetite, or reactions cannot sustain responsibility. Discipline is proof that a person can be trusted with power. Prayer without discipline creates imbalance. A person may hear from God but fail to obey God. Revelation without discipline leads to pride. Knowledge without discipline leads to arrogance. Discipline turns revelation into transformation. It translates belief into behavior. It anchors faith in action. Discipline ensures that what is received spiritually is expressed practically. A disciplined life does not wait for supernatural intervention to correct what daily habits are destroying. It recognizes that miracles are not tools for managing irresponsibility. Discipline honors God by respecting the laws He established. When discipline is present, prayer becomes sharper, faith becomes steadier, and purpose becomes sustainable. Discipline is not optional for spiritual people, it is foundational. God blesses order, not disorder, because order reflects intention, design, and alignment with purpose. Disorder is never neutral. It is evidence that something is unmanaged or misunderstood. Wherever God is involved, structure is present. Creation itself did not emerge randomly. Everything was placed, timed, named, and assigned function. Blessing follows alignment, and alignment requires order. When order is absent, blessing has no system to rest upon. Many people desire God's favor but resist God's systems. They want results without structure, increase without planning, and success without consistency. Disorder is often disguised as freedom, but true freedom only exists within boundaries. A train is free to move only because it stays on tracks. Remove the tracks and movement becomes destruction. In the same way, lives without order may feel unrestricted, but they eventually derail. God does not bless confusion because confusion cannot sustain purpose. Order begins with clarity. When a person does not know why they exist, how they should live, or what they are responsible for, disorder takes over. Disorder affects time, priorities, relationships, finances, and decision-making. People pray for peace while living chaotic lives. Peace is not a feeling God drops from heaven. It's the result of an ordered life. When priorities are misplaced, stress becomes constant. When values are unclear, choices become inconsistent. God's blessings are not random acts of kindness. They are responses to alignment. Rain falls on prepared ground. Seeds grow where systems support growth. Order creates capacity. Disorder limits capacity. A cluttered mind cannot sustain focus. A disorganized deschedule cannot sustain productivity. A chaotic character cannot sustain trust. God will not pour increase into a life that lacks structure because increase would amplify damage. Order also protects relationships. Many relational problems are not spiritual attacks, they are organizational failures. Poor communication, lack of boundaries, unmanaged expectations, and emotional instability, all stem from disorder. People ask God to heal relationships they refuse to structure properly. Love without order becomes emotional dependency. Authority without order becomes control. Freedom without order becomes irresponsibility. God blesses order because order demonstrates stewardship. Stewardship is the ability to manage what is given. Anything unmanaged will eventually be lost. Disorder wastes energy, and opportunity. When time is not ordered, days are consumed by distraction. When finances are not ordered, resources disappear without results. When thoughts are not ordered, beliefs become unstable. God entrusts more to those who prove they can manage less. Order is not rigidity. Order is intentional arrangement. It does not remove flexibility. It creates stability. A disciplined schedule allows room for rest. A planned life allows room for creativity. Order does not kill spontaneity. It controls chaos. God's order brings peace, not pressure. Disorder produces urgency, anxiety, and constant reaction. Ordered people respond. Disordered people react. Prayer does not establish order. Decisions do. Prayer may reveal what is out of alignment, but responsibility corrects it. God will show you what to fix, but He will not fix what you ignore. Many prayers go unanswered because the environment is not prepared to receive the answer. Order prepares the environment. Order creates space for blessing to function without being wasted. God does not bless intentions. He blesses obedience. Obedience is structured action. When instructions are followed, results follow. Disorder is F10 rebellion in disguise. It is choosing convenience over commitment, feelings over principles, comfort over correction. God's presence may visit disorder, but His blessing remains where order is maintained. An ordered life honors God because it respects His design. It says that purpose matters, time matters, and discipline matters. Order turns vision into systems and prayer into progress. When order is established, blessing is no longer forced. It flows naturally into what is aligned. Consistency sustains what prayer initiates, because spiritual moments are meant to be followed by disciplined patterns. Prayer may ignite clarity, conviction, and direction, but consistency is what turns revelation into reality. Many people experience powerful moments in prayer, yet their lives remain unchanged. Because moments were never converted into habits, God often speaks in moments, but life is shaped by routines. What is not maintained through consistency will eventually fade, no matter how intense the prayer experience was. Consistency is the daily agreement with what was revealed in prayer. Prayer may expose what needs to change, but consistency enforces that change. Without consistency, air becomes emotional release rather than transformational alignment. People pray for strength, but return to the same weak patterns. They pray for wisdom, but ignore the disciplines that protect wisdom. Consistency is how belief is proven. Anyone can agree with truth in prayer. Consistency shows who is willing to live it. Spiritual growth is not the result of occasional intensity, but of repeated obedience. Seeds do not grow because they are watered once. They grow because watering becomes regular. In the same way, spiritual maturity develops through repeated choices aligned with purpose. Consistency trains the mind and body to submit to direction even when motivation is absent. God values faithfulness over excitement because faithfulness demonstrates reliability. Many people misunderstand miracles. A miracle may change a situation, but consistency changes a lifestyle. Without consistency, miracles become temporary relief instead of lasting transformation. That is why some people receive breakthroughs they cannot keep. Their prayer was strong, but their habits were weak. Consistency builds the structure needed to sustain increase. Structure without consistency collapses. Consistent. Size what reinforces structure over time. Consistency also protects focus. Inconsistent people live in cycles of starting and stopping, inspired and discouraged, committed and distracted. This instability drains energy and weakens confidence. Consistency simplifies life by reducing decision fatigue. When values are consistent, choices become easier. When behavior is consistent, progress becomes measurable. God works through process, and process requires consistency. Consistency requires discipline, and discipline requires patience. Many people abandon consistency because results are not immediate. They pray for growth but quit when growth demands time. They pray for change but retreat when change requires discomfort. Consistency is proof that a person trusts the process even when outcomes are delayed. Trust is not demonstrated by words spoken in prayer, but by actions repeated in private. Prayer often gives vision, but consistency provides movement. Vision without consistency leads to frustration. People know what to do but fail to do it long enough to see results. Consistency bridges the gap between intention and outcome. It ensures that effort is not wasted and progress is not accidental. God honors steady obedience more than dramatic promises. Consistency also builds character. Character is not formed by isolated decisions, but by repeated behavior. What you do consistently becomes who you are. Prayer may reveal character flaws, but consistency corrects them. Transformation is not a sudden event. It is a gradual process reinforced daily. Without consistency, people key, revisiting the same issues in prayer instead of overcoming them in practice. God responds to faith, and faith is expressed through persistence. Consistency is persistence with structure. It is choosing to show up even when there is no applause, no affirmation, and no immediate reward. It is aligning daily actions with eternal values. Prayer opens the door, but consistency keeps it open. consists. Tendency also guards against hypocrisy. Many people sound spiritual in prayer but live inconsistently outside it. Consistency removes contradiction between belief and behavior. It brings integrity. Integrity is alignment between what is prayed and what is practiced. Without consistency, prayer becomes performance rather than partnership. Consistency does not require perfection, it requires commitment. Missing once is not failure, quitting is. Consistency allows room for growth while maintaining direction. It keeps progress moving forward even when pace slows. Prayer may start the journey, but consistency ensures the destination is reached. Obedience precedes manifestation, because manifestation is the result of alignment, not desire. Nothing appears simply because it is wanted, it appears because the conditions required for its existence are met. Obedience is agreement with instruction, and instruction always comes before results. God does not manifest promises in environments that resist His principles. Obedience is not a religious act. It is a functional response to direction. When obedience is delayed, manifestation is delayed. When obedience is partial, manifestation is limited. Many people focus on outcomes while ignoring instructions. They want visible change without invisible submission. They want results without restraint. But obedience is the bridge between revelation and reality. God may reveal what is possible, but obedience determines what becomes actual. Vision shows the destination, but obedience provides the steps. Without obedience, revelation becomes in format. Ion without impact. Obedience requires humility because it demands trust beyond understanding. Often, instructions do not make sense at the moment they are given. They challenge logic, comfort, and routine. That is why obedience is a test of faith. Faith is not proven by agreement, it is proven by compliance. Anyone can say they believe, but belief that is not obeyed is only opinion. Obedience PR. Ove's belief is genuine. Manifestation is never accidental. It is always the product of obedience to process. Seeds manifest as harvest only when they are planted, watered, and protected. Skipping steps does not speed results, it cancels them. God works through sequence, and obedience honors sequence. People who rush outcomes often bypass discipline, and what is gained quickly is lost easily. OBE. Obedience also protects timing. Many blessings are delayed not because God is withholding, but because obedience is incomplete. Timing is as important as action. Acting too early can be as damaging as acting too late. Obedience includes patience, waiting, and restraint. Some doors remain closed not because the opportunity is denied, but because preparation is unfinished. Manifestation arrives when obedience has matured. Disobedience is often subtle. It does not always look like rebellion. Sometimes it looks like delay, excuses, or selective compliance. Doing what is comfortable while ignoring what is required is still disobedience. God's instructions are not suggestions. They are precise because the outcome depends on them. Partial obedience produces partial results. Delayed obedience produces missed opportunities. Obedience positions a person for trust. God does not release responsibility to those who resist instruction. Authority follows obedience. Influence follows submission. A person who cannot follow direction cannot sustain leadership. Obedience develops character, and character determines capacity. Manifestation without character leads to collapse. That is why obedience alwa. YS comes first. Many people pray for open doors while refusing to walk in order. They pray for elevation while resisting correction. They pray for favor while ignoring discipline. Prayer may express desire, but obedience demonstrates readiness. God responds to readiness. Obedience shows that a person is prepared to manage what they are asking for. Obedience also simplifies life. It removes confusion by providing clear direction. When instructions are followed, decisions become easier. When direction is ignored, life becomes complicated. Many struggles are self-created through disobedience. Obedience does not eliminate challenges, but it prevents unnecessary ones. It aligns effort with outcome. Manifestation is not mystical, it is practical. It appears when actions match instructions consistently. Obedience turns faith into movement. It transforms belief into behavior. Without obedience, prayer becomes repetitive, faith becomes theoretical, and vision becomes frustrating. Obedience brings clarity to faith and structure to hope. God's promises are dependable, but they are activated through obedience. Obedience is not about earning favor. It is about cooperating with design. When design is respected, results are inevitable. Obedience creates an environment where manifestation can occur naturally, steadily, and sustainably. Responsibility unlocks authority because authority is never granted to those who avoid accountability. Authority is not a position, it is a trust. Trust is built on consistency, reliability, and ownership. Responsibility is the visible evidence that a person can be trusted with influence. Before anyone is given power over others, they must first demonstrate power over themselves. Self-governance always precedes leadership. A person who cannot manage their own life cannot be entrusted with directing others. Many people desire authority because they want recognition, control, or status, but authority is not given to satisfy ego. Authority exists to serve purpose and protect order. God does not assign authority based on ambition. He assigns it based on stewardship. Stewardship is the ability to manage what is already in your hands. Those who are faithful with little prove they are ready for more. Responsibility shows readiness. Irresponsibility disqualifies, regardless of talent. Responsibility requires ownership. It means accepting outcome. Without blame shifting. Responsible people do not waste time explaining why something failed. They focus on correcting what they control. Blame weakens authority because it exposes insecurity. Leaders who blame circumstances lose credibility. Authority grows when a person accepts responsibility even when outcomes are unfavorable. This posture builds trust, and trust attracts influence. Authority. Thank you is sustained by discipline. Discipline is the structure that keeps responsibility consistent. Without discipline, responsibility becomes occasional, and occasional responsibility cannot sustain authority. People respect leaders who are dependable, not emotional. Consistency creates predictability, and predictability creates safety. Authority thrives in environments where people feel secure. Responsibility produces that security. Responsibility also sharpens decision-making. When a person knows they are accountable, they think more carefully, plan more thoroughly, and act more intentionally. Authority requires judgment, and judgment is refined through responsibility. Careless decisions reveal immaturity. Mature decisions reflect awareness of consequences. Authority increases as a person demonstrates wisdom in choices that affect others. Many people pray for authority without accepting responsibility. They want influence without burden. They want leadership without sacrifice. But responsibility is the price of authority. Authority without responsibility becomes abuse. That is why God withholds authority from those who avoid accountability. Power in irresponsible hands destroys rather than builds. Responsibility thus that power will be handled with care. Responsibility also develops competence. Competence earns respect. Respect strengthens authority. People follow those who are capable, not just confident. Responsibility forces learning, growth, and improvement. It exposes weaknesses that must be corrected. Avoiding responsibility preserves comfort, but prevents growth. Authority demands competence, and competence is produced through responsibility. Responsibility builds credibility in private before it is recognized in public. True authority is often granted long before it is announced. People observe how someone handles small tasks, unseen pressures, and minor assignments. These moments reveal character. Character sustains authority when visibility increases. Those who neglect small responsibilities cannot handle large ones. Authority is not seized, it is recognized. It emerges naturally when responsibility is consistently demonstrated. People submit willingly to those who prove dependable. Forced authority creates resistance. Earned authority creates loyalty. Responsibility earns authority because it shows alignment with purpose and commitment to outcomes. Responsibility also creates boundaries. Boundaries protect authority from misuse. A responsible person knows when to say no, when to delegate, and when to step back. Authority without boundaries leads to exhaustion and error. Responsibility teaches balance. It ensures that authority is exercised wisely rather than impulsively. God entrusts authority to those who protect what they are given. Responsibility signals that trust is safe. When a person honors manages resources, and keeps commitments, authority follows. Authority is not granted through prayer alone. It is unlocked through daily responsibility. Responsibility turns potential into influence and influence into lasting impact.